What's up, everybody? What's up, guys?
What's good? What's good, bro? How you doing on this wonderful Sunday night?
Good, just getting started. All right, let's do this.
I
Go ahead
feel it,
with
man.
your.
So nothing changed from last night to tonight as far as USR goes. I did mess up that last update though about New Mexico. It has been the ban has been tabled. So what that means, if I'm not mistaken, somebody correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. It's on hold and it's more than likely not going to pass. But just remember, guys, let's not get complacent. Let's keep up the emails. Let them know, like, hey, even though it's tabled, like we're still not okay with this. We don't want this to pass. We don't want anything coming of this. Shout out Jeremy over at Brassman Reptiles. He had a really good Instagram live that I wanted to touch on yesterday. I forgot to. Talking about law and understanding it. Once something's passed, it's really easy to edit it. So think about putting a video together. You put your video together and you got it all set, all the timings right. Then you go in there and you start adding little, fun, cool things. A lot like that. The difficult part is making the video and getting the video into production. Then all the editing and little stuff afterwards is just basically for fun. That's them editing the law, adding different things in. What's going on in Connecticut. It's mammal based, but that passes, it gets through, and then it's super easy for them to add a supplement to that of, oh, you know what? We're done with y'all reptile people. Let us throw that in there. And it's not as easy to fight that as it is to get as easy as it is to fight a law getting passed at the very, very beginning of it. So let's remember, support one another. Let's back up our other states where we can. Continue to share the alerts, continue to talk about USR, continue to talk about responsible reptile keeping. Move it forward. Again, we're going to shout out Vanessa. I can't do it enough. I am so proud of her. Administrative director. Thank God I'm not somebody official. Over at US Arc now, again, I'm going to say it over and over again. You want an example to be for US Arc and the hobby, that is the woman to go to. She's a responsible keeper, responsible pet shop owner. My Arizona peeps, go over there, tell her thank you, shout her out. If you see her in an expo, tell her what's up, tell her thank you for all she does. Wrong shot, bro.
Bro, you talking? Anyway, I'm just doing the stuff.
I can't with you, bro. I can't. I'm telling you, man, MJ, if you see this, bro, this is the shit you put up with Donnie. I'm sorry, bro. Anyways, or Donnie, vice versa. Let's shout out to MJ last night. What a fucking episode. Feel how you feel about all the stuff discussed. Let us know in the comments how you feel on that video. Everybody's opinion is heard and accepted. My inbox is open. If you don't like something we said or did, MJ's inbox is open. Chris is open. Let's discuss. But shout out to him. That is truly fam at this point. That's episode 2. We're gonna link up in Anaheim. But if you missed that episode, go back, check it out. It was very passionate. If you don't want anything to do with the drama and you want to remain neutral, avoid the last part of it. It is what it is. Cut it off at like 2 hours, 15 minutes, I think. But up to that point, it was family based. It was just a good fucking time. There's a lot of emotion. I felt very open. I felt very comfortable. MJ felt very open and comfortable. Chris as well, being Chris.
Being awesome.
On that, let's shout out the sponsors. Shout out the Reptile Crew. You need some sick ass reptile merch, go hit up my boys. They're in my link tree on my Instagram, FTL Reptiles. Quick shout out to Donnie. I got rid of the underdash in that name. I'll get rid of the underdash in this one. Scares the shit out of me. Shout out CMB Reptile, your selective captive bred operation shop of Arizona. The one, the only, the OG of it to make it is what it is today. Let me shout out Bill real quick. If you are interested in Jeremiah, he is posting thoughts about possibly selling him. Hit him up. World's first, world's famous reticulated python, world's first and melanistic. What an opportunity to get into the Super Dwarf program, let alone having a world's famous retic in your collection. On that, the Super Dwarves are now, the Het G Stripes are now out of their first portion of quarantine and moving into a second. I am going to keep them separate from everything else throughout all of this. They are in temp cages now and will be moved into super sophisticated large setups later on. I'm working on putting a plan together for that, but for now they're satisfied. Jesus Christ, you are such a distraction, bro. Welcome to the comedy show, apparently.
Are y'all ready? Are y'all ready?
Are y'all ready? Yeah, let's man, run the damn intro. Let's do this.
Are y'all? No, I want to hear. Are they ready?
Where Chucky at, bro? Hashtag I'm so done with you.
All right, let's do this.
Hashtag FTK, and by K I mean you, because you're a kid.
I am a kid. I'm a big kid at heart. We gotta bring the heat. We gotta be ready.
Bro,
are you ready? Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. I've been ready.
Let's go.
Did you miss my?
These snakes are small because where they remotely come from. Like, it's the islands and the chain of islands that they come from, which make them so small. The food source is limited out there, and the items they eat are a lot smaller. So these animals just stay smaller. But you can get a super dwarf and turn it into a mainland, no problem, throughout a couple breeding, sessions. Like, it all depends how you feed these things. And these things can get really small or they can get really big. Now,
What's up, everybody? Y'all already know. Welcome to Sexin Flexin Live Sunday. You got Levi, FTL Reptiles, and then Gary from Constricted and Addicted. Oh, what's up,
Yo,
guys?
welcome in, Gary, man. I've been thinking about this one since we talked. Been excited about this.
Me too. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, anytime, man. Let's kick this thing off, man. Introduce yourself to our viewers. I know we're not too familiar with each other, but that's about to change.
My name is Gary. I live in Northern California, and I love reticulated pythons. It didn't start out that way. I've been a boa constrictor guy for many, many years, and I've kind of shied away from the reticulated pythons because of sheer size. And just to be completely transparent about why I have mainland reticulated pythons with my super dwarfs is really, I like to blame it on my wife. We were at a show. She was about probably 9 foot long at that point in time, my lavender albino sunfire that I purchased. And my wife was having conversation with the breeder, and he had mentioned to her that he was going to put her back in a 3 foot bin when he got home, and that's what she lived in. That's what my wife said. She freaked out. And she told me, she says, you can take better care of that snake than he can. And I told her, I said, hey, you realize that's a snake that's going to get anywhere between 16 to 20 feet long, possibly. She goes, I don't care. She goes, you'll take better care of it. And honestly, I was scared, but I knew what I was doing at the time. So that's how I got introduced to my first mainland reticulated python. But I've gravitated towards the retics because of their personalities, because of their behaviors, because of their intelligence level. They're just, to me, they are a superior reptile to own. And I don't take anything away from ball pythons. I don't take anything away from boa constrictors. As a matter of fact, I still have a few boa constrictors in my possession, but retics is where it's at for me. Real quick,
hell yeah.
you guys go like this and go like this because I love to talk, man. I love to talk. First of all, your intro was off the hook, man. I'm sitting here, I have a whole bunch of things to say, and they all went out the window as I'm watching that eagle fly through the air, right? And the fire coming out of the dragon, and the fire coming out. That was off the hook, man. And USARK, you know, I'm a huge USARK supporter. And, you know, if you are not a USARK member, I've been doing this for a long time because of the fact that I believe in membership counts. I believe that that's where we become strong. That's where we stand together, is when USARK has members. We can make donations all day long, and I know that that helps out. But, man, when we get our member counts up, that's where USARK stands strong. And every once in a while, check my Instagram. I will purchase a bronze membership for somebody, for people that either can't afford it or for whatever reason, man. I don't want to know why. But if you need a USARK membership, give me a message, man, and I will help you out because I believe in USARK. I don't care. I believe in USARK. And I saw a lot of people say hi. Hello, everybody.
Yeah, there's a chat's popping off right now. Looks like you got a lot of supporters in here, Gary. Shout out real quick. Man, so thank you for the intro. That means a lot. I've been working on that damn thing since we started, and the Dragons were a part of it, and then they weren't a part of it, and then they came back. And I just feel like that has always been that one thing that throws people off, is that damn Dragon segment.
Oh, man, that's beautiful. I'm a Dragon guy.
Threw it in there. I was like last night stressing about it before we went on with MJ. I was like, oh my God, this fucking MJ and anybody moving forward and this intro shit, like what a way to start it. And it flowed in my head. I got good review from the team, and then MJ complimented it. Now you're complimenting it, and it's like, yes, fuck yeah. Like I'm like a little kid in a candy shop right now.
He's stupid.
It was that, and then the techno degent that you had going on. It's like backstage, I'm like, yeah, you know, I'm just like,
yeah.
That song, I used that song for a promo reel that I threw at MJ for JP's episode. And it was just something about that damn song that stuck. The beat to it just hit so hard. I was like, all right, cool. Like that's it. So fuck yeah. And hold on. Let's go backwards for a second. Shout out to you, Gary. Can we get a round of applause for Gary one time? Like, what a way to open the door to reticulated pythons. Everything that we as retic owners stand on, you literally open the door to your career with these snakes. And just being a shining example of what owning a mainland, not a super dwarf, not a dwarf, but a mainland is about, is taking it out of that crap environment of little enclosures and just stepping it up to care. Because, I mean, your background speaks for itself. You've got large enclosures. Your animals look set, way beyond set. So what a way to open up the door into retics. Hats off to you, and thank you for setting that example of what a retic owner should be.
One of the things that I thrive on is change. Like this has been a lot of work right here, but now I'm going to move everything into another room, and I'm going to try and do 10-foot cages. I have 2 mainland reticulated pythons, and I want to get them into a larger cage, just because I know that they're going to get larger. They deserve larger. Most of my retics, they're coiled up, except for her and her. They're out. Some are in shed, but a lot of them just kind of stay in one spot. They're either under the heat or they gravitate to the other side of the enclosure, but they do move around. And I want to give them that enrichment. I don't want the enclosure to be their total source of enrichment. I'm not a breeder. I'm a keeper. So I make it almost like a schedule that I pull snakes out. I handle them for 25, 30 minutes up to an hour and rotate them out so they're constantly getting held. We have 5 acres here, so I get to take them out to a horse arena, and I get to let them run around in a horse arena. And I mean, I don't know. They don't sit here and tell me, hey, we totally appreciate this, Gary. But I do. I appreciate it. And I think they get what they need from me. So, and that fills me up. That's what I like that.
Hell yeah, that's awesome, man. So, the pictures that you sent me for the intro, right? Are any of those out by the horse track?
Yes, I think all 3 of them were.
Okay, awesome. That, I mean, wow, what an open space, and you own that, right?
That's right. That's right. My wife is all of 4'11", so that I have a big gray bin out there that's probably about 6 feet long, and she actually uses that to get on her horse because she's so short. So, but it's great for putting the snakes on and getting good pictures with too.
That's all. Yeah, those pictures were incredible. I was like fucking drooling over those. What incredible shots and what an incredible space to have to be able to let your retics roam around. It looks open where you're not worried about anything. So that, man, just anybody that wants to own retics, like you want to be like Gary, like straight up. Like, wow, that. Shut up, Boza. Nobody loves you.
I love you both. Though.
Shout out to Boza real quick for introducing me to Gary. Man, what?
Bosa, thank you for the shirt, Bosa. I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Boza's got some sick shirts, man.
I was gonna wear it, but I wanted to support USARK. I'll get another picture with my Bosa Ball shirt, but I love USARK, so that's what I chose to do this with.
Awesome. And thank you for speaking on USARK and hitting the nail on the head, I think is the phrase I'm looking for here. Forgive me. But yeah, it's a strength in numbers. So shout out again, everything that we are about, you're about. So that's incredible. Like welcome to our portion of the community. That's incredible. Glad to have you on the podcast.
There's an incredible amount of wonderful people in this community. I mean, people that I don't even know at one point in time we did a video. I don't really do so much on my YouTube channel anymore. I just don't. But back about 6 months or so ago, we did a video. I had a vision about putting a USARK video together that wasn't endorsed by USARK, but it was to support USARK. There's a lot of people out there that don't even know what USARK is, or they know what USARK is, but they don't know what it does. Or they know what USARK is and they know what USARK does, but they don't care. And I think if you own reptiles, you should care, man. I mean, these are the people that are doing things behind the scenes that we don't know about. They're letting us know about everything. So I contacted a bunch of people, some people I'd never met, some people I'd never talked to. When they responded to me, we put a video together about USARK, and it was wonderful. People said, hey, man, we're on board. What do you want from us? What do you want us to do? So we put together, if you go to my YouTube page, there's actually 2 USARK videos. Check them out. I mean, it was amazing how the community came together for everybody, for people, for USARK, so that we can get a little more awareness about what they are doing for us. You know, I appreciate it for one, so I want to push it out there. I want to do my part.
Awesome. Thank you, man. It's much felt. We started a trend we've been slacking on, by the way. Everybody calling us all out, including myself. We started making reels for USARK to try to hit the algorithm, to try to make it like a trend to where it was traveling outside of the reptile community to bring awareness to USARK and animal and reptile keeping. So, I mean, how long ago was this that you put this video together, Gary?
It was during the whole thing with the ban. So I'd say it was probably about 8-9 months ago.
Okay, wow. Is that on your YouTube or your Instagram?
This is on my YouTube, but it's also on my Instagram. I posted it everywhere I could.
Awesome. Give me or you know what, Boza, can you plug that for me, bro? We're gonna put it up on the screen so everyone can see.
Well, Eden got it right there.
Oh, there we go. Awesome. Go click that link. Go check out the video that Gary made, guys. Make sure to subscribe to his YouTube while you're there. Go follow him on Instagram.
If you subscribe, that means they're gonna have to make more videos. No, just kidding.
Share that USARK video. I'm gonna share that when we get off this podcast because that's incredible. Thank you, Gary. Like from the bottom of my heart, and every responsible keeper out there. Anybody helping.
I got to say the same thing, to thank everybody who does the same thing. There's a lot of people out there to plug USARK, and I see people do it, and that would encourages me to do it. So as long as I see people doing it, it also lights the fire for me to do it. And I get creative. So, if we can do outside the box kind of things, I like to do it.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome, man. Man. What a way to kick off the fucking podcast, man. Like I had a thought process and now I don't because I'm just enthralled. Like, thank you for being here. Caught up. Like I'm almost starstruck. Like I don't even know where to go. Back to the retics.
You, man.
So you got your first retic from this incredible experience. Your wife sees that one's being neglected. You guys take the retic in. Where does it go from there?
Well, it broke a lot of rules in my house. I am not that guy, or I used to not be that guy, where you walked into my house and you saw reptiles. You could walk into my house at one point in time and not know that I had any reptiles. But because of the space I've got in this room, I've got 2 8-foot enclosures in my living room now. And that's where she went. So we quarantined her. We quarantined her for about 3 months. We got our enclosure all set up. Obviously, I had to find the enclosure, get the enclosure. All of my retics all of my snakes, period, are on bioactive. Thank you, Abby, curly-haired keeper. Thank you, Jenny Cogs. I appreciate you guys. Those 2 were some of the biggest help that I could have got during that process because I knew nothing about substrate, bugs, whatever. But long story short, I had to get their enclosure set up. So we're in the living room. So now when you walk into my living room, that's the first. It doesn't matter if you're installing new furniture in my living room or you're coming to work on something in my house. That's usually the first thing they go is Emma is usually out. So she's a big 12-foot yellow snake in an enclosure. And that's people are like, what is that? Well, what is it? Look at it. It's a snake. I mean, and then they get curious. I've had more people who have never held a snake, hold a snake in my house and leave with a smile. You know, I got a couple people that say, it's not for me, but you know what? I've had more people like just totally in shock, enthralled, and in amazement all at the same time that they're holding this animal that they never really thought in their wildest dreams that they'd ever be able to hold.
Oh man, that's cool. That's super cool. That's awesome, man.
So go back. Emma was not my first retic. Actually, my first retic was Cora. And that was from Chris McVicker. And there's a story behind that. I'm not going to put anybody out there, but there was a company that I was trying to buy a reticulated super dwarf reticulated python from. And I wasn't getting any response back. And I was ready to spend a little bit of money. So I kept calling and I kept calling, and I would get a phone call back every once in a while, but that was it. When I tried to email, I wasn't getting anything. And a friend of mine had purchased a reticulated python from Chris, and she said, hey, check him out. He's got some quality animals. So I didn't even know Chris. I just reached out to him and said, hey, I'm looking for a super dwarf. He sent me some pictures. This was a year and a half ago. And it not only got me one of the most beautiful reticulated super dwarf reticulated pythons in my collection, but it started an awesome relationship where I flew to Arlington last year to NARBC to meet Chris and his wife and D&T Retics. I got to meet them out there. I mean, I got to meet a lot of these people that I only know on Instagram from behind a computer. I got to meet them face to face, you know, and network and really develop this really neat relationship. You know, it's like this, right? I look at us as keepers like people in the metal world. When you see somebody wearing an Ozzy Osbourne shirt or a Metallica shirt and you're in the grocery store, you look at them, you're like, yeah, man. When I know somebody has a reptile, right? When I see somebody with a reptile shirt, I'm doing that same thing. I'm like, yeah, man, you know, I've got to strike up a conversation. So we're like a breed of our own. And going to NARBC was an amazing experience for me as far as the networking is concerned. But my first retic was this 50% Kalatoa Platinum Phantom from Chris McVicker. And Chris has been such an upstanding guy with me that I've got 5 snakes from him. I purchased 5 reticulated pythons from him.
Oh, shit. Okay. So, hold on. Do you primarily work with super dwarfs or mainlands?
So I primarily keep super dwarfs. But
Okay.
I have 2 mainlands.
Okay. I was
Nice.
super. Okay. I am so off the mark there. I thought you were. Okay. I got my facts wrong here. So you primarily work with super dwarfs, but you keep mainlands.
Correct. The reason I
Okay.
went with super dwarfs is probably like anybody else that wants that reticulated python, but I did a lot of work. I did a lot of research.
Mhm.
And I knew, but even by doing the research on the super dwarf, I found all the research. Also, I owned a mainland reticulated python years ago. I knew they got big. And as we get older in life, that was one of my big concerns was these snakes can live 30 years. If you treat them well, if you give them the proper care, they can live with you for 30 years. So I'm picturing myself as a 70-year-old man with a 20-foot snake, and something about that picture, sometimes it doesn't look as attractive as
Yeah.
a 50-year-old guy with a 20-foot snake. But I'm willing to take it. I'm willing to go that extra mile. I'm willing to do what it takes to take care of these animals. But it was the super dwarfs because this can be a hot topic too, because you can talk to a breeder who says, "Oh, it's only going to get 8 to 10 feet long," but that's a gamble. You really don't know how big that animal is going to get until it's that big. I love this on Morph Market, and now I'm going to jump on a soapbox, right? I love it on Morph Market when they say this animal is only going to get 8 to 10 feet long, and it was bred at 5 years old. Well, 5 years old, it's still got 20 years to grow. So if it's 8 to 10 feet long at 5 years, what's it going to look like at 15 years? Is it still going to be 8? I think it's just a misnomer. And anytime you get into super dwarfs, I think you have to go in with that mindset that it's going to get bigger than what anybody says it's going to be. You have to prepare for it. Too many times I hear people say, "Oh, this snake's only going to get 8 foot long," And maybe it's a year old and it's only 4 feet long, and they're judging it off that. But trust me, I've seen snakes at 2 to 3 years old have massive growth spurts. Massive growth
Oh,
spurts.
for sure.
I'm about to get my first one, so I'm ready for it. Let's do this. I'm ready. I'm excited to get my super dwarf. I'm super stoked. Can't wait.
So
Gary, are you?
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I just actually bought a coyote from Lucas at Lab Exotics.
Oh, shit. Okay.
I hope to have that snake in my possession this Wednesday. That's a 100% female coyote. And even if at 100%, and coyote being a super dwarf, there's still a possibility. I always look at it like that. It might only get 8 or 10 feet long, 10 or 12 feet long, but I can't go in there with that's the absolute. Because with a reticulated python, I don't believe there is that. There is no absolute. You have to grow with that snake. Bottom line.
Agreed. So I got a couple of questions real quick. Damn it, Chris, you said something. Oh, are you familiar with CMB?
So I met one of the guys from CMB out in at San Mateo, the San Mateo Reptile Expo.
Okay.
And I talked to him for a pretty long. He's a cool guy. I don't remember his name, but he was from CNB, and I remember him telling me he was from Arizona. So I'll have to go back. It's in. I did a big video shoot on the San Mateo Reptile Expo, so I know that I got pictures of him in that post. So I'll have to go back and look.
Okay. Awesome. If I got a chance, I'll break free and take a look real quick. Was it Bill? Does Bill ring a bell?
That doesn't ring a bell.
Or Caleb.
Bell. What's that?
Caleb?
That might be that sounds closer.
Was he younger or older in age? Do you remember?
Younger guy, kind of a heavyset guy.
Oh, was it Curtis?
I don't know. I have to. It could have been. I don't remember, man. I don't remember.
You're good. But yeah, Chris is picking up his getting his shipped in from CMB. Are you familiar with Jeremiah over there, the world's first amelanistic? I was talking about him in the intro.
I heard you talking about him, and is there been any posts on Instagram? Because I'm sure I follow CMB, so I'm sure I've seen posts about it.
Oh, he's on there all the time, man. He's like, when I say world's famous, like a lot of people, I'm not going to say everyone, but a lot of people know who Jeremiah is. It's one of like the biggest attractions of stopping in CMB. Shout out to all my Arizona peeps and my Cali peeps. You always want to pop in before he moves homes. Come see him. Incredible super dwarf. But where the hell was I going with that? God damn it. I do this way too often.
Every time.
Chris is getting a baby from his clutch. Are you familiar with Lee Varner?
That name I'm not familiar with.
All right, I'm gonna link you guys up. Lee Varner is an incredible retic breeder, up and coming super dwarf retic breeder.
Okay.
He Urban Heart Exotics is his Instagram. If somebody could plug him for me real quick. Him and Bill partnered up with Jeremiah and one of Lee Varner's baby super dwarfs, and Chris is getting one of the babies. So he gets a product of that.
Yeah.
Damn it. I had 2 questions and I lost the other one.
I do it all the time.
I gotta quit doing this. I gotta I need a notepad. Like,
bro,
my memory is so bad.
Stuff down. I told you.
Well, no, I gotta write it down in the moment. Anyways, this is not the time for this. Moving on.
So anyways, I've got
my
collection. Oh, all my lights just went off. This is really cool. So I've got all my lights are programmed. It must be 6:30 because they all turn off at the same time with Gobi. So, and that's another thing that I got from Jeremy Wilcox and Abby at the curly-haired keeper. They both were telling me about the Gobi lighting. I freaking love it. I mean, it's like 6:30 in the morning, it turns on automatically, and at 6:30 at night, it turns off automatically.
That's perfect. That's how I have like my beardies over here. I have them on automatic timer too. Same thing.
But I've got 7 retics in my collection right now. This one right up here, she's I keep mostly females. I've got 1 male in my collection, and the reason I have the male was Chris kind of talked me into it. And when I say that, I understand that I could have said no. I could have walked away without that snake, but Chris is such a good guy, and we hear a lot of misnomers about male retics kept with female retics, the behaviors. I don't know. I have 1 male retic in my collection. So I'm going to give you some first-hand experience here, probably within the next couple of years, about behaviors should my male develop them. But I hear a lot of people say some males do, some males don't. So I'm going to find out. But most of my retics are females. This one up here, she's a 50% Solaire, 25% Super Dwarf, unknown, and she's got Phantom in her. And I just fed her. I fed her last night, so I'll bring her out real quick. Come here.
Oh, she's tiny.
Whoa, she pretty.
She's amazing, and just one of my favorites. She's got, I don't think she's going to allow me to show you the head stamp, but she has just got a head stamp that is incredible. And I believe it's the Phantom that she turns to gold at her tail. But puppy dog tame, I'm telling you, all of my retics, I mean, I don't normally grab them and pull them out without a hook, but as you see, I knew where she was. I felt comfortable doing it, and they're pretty much all the same way. This one right here, she's got a huge feeding response. I don't know if you can see her or not. When I open up this enclosure, she's just like a dart. So her, I will get out. What's up, big girl? What's up, big girl? Yeah. I get a lot of comments on her. There goes her hide.
Dang.
This is Georgia.
Gorgeous.
Georgia is how do I say? I bought her with a receipt from somebody off Craigslist, which I don't like to do. I don't like to buy snakes off Craigslist. They listed her as a 50% Kalatoa, and there's a long story behind it. I don't know if she's truly 50% Kalatoa. She's not going to get bred, but she is 5 years old, and she's roughly 8 feet long.
Whoa.
And she,
Okay.
what's that?
Damn.
I was saying, whoa. Okay, that's. Yeah, I mean, I guess there's probable cause. I assume the person didn't have the information that you look for when you're buying a super dwarf.
Not only did they not have it, they didn't want to even give it to me. They were very, very rude when I called them to verify. So she's never going to get bred. She's my pet, and I get more compliments and comments on this animal than most any other snake that I have in my collection.
She is gorgeous.
Oh, she's just amazing. These yellows, I don't think the camera's doing any justice for her colors, but beyond her colors, her temperament is just amazing. She's a truly one of my favorite snakes to handle. And I let anybody handle her. All of my retics, anybody can handle. There's only like my pied is probably the only one that I won't let just anybody handle. But I mean, she just likes to hold on, and she's just curious, just like any other retic is, as you can see. And if I'm not careful, she's gonna get somewhere I don't want her. So I'm gonna put her down.
Oh man, my mainland is the same way. I know the struggle.
I think they're all like that. They're just curious. They're very curious animals, and I think that is a positive point because of the fact that they are. I think it gives me the idea that they're happy. If I know what an unhappy retic looks like. If you've got a retic that's not moving around, that's kind of like being, like cautious, it's not a very happy retic. But when you've got a retic like that that's on you, that's kind of like wanting to explore and do all this stuff, to me that's a happy retic. That's a reticulated python that is comfortable in your possession. I mean, I am a human being, and that is an apex predator. So somewhere along the line, we have bonded and made a relationship. And just to be on the clear here, Cora, when I got Cora, there's a video on my YouTube channel. She actually jumped out of the bag, and I thought I was going to lose her. She literally sprung out, and I'm surprised I didn't get bit when I pulled her out of the bag. I was expecting like a 3-foot snake, and I got a 4 or 5 foot snake that was just all over the place. And I finally calmed her down because I watched some people and I listened to what people said about, retics. You just got to let them run through your hands until they calm down. And that's what I did. And finally she calmed down, but she bit me. She bit my wife. She struck at air. She got to the point where I was afraid to handle her. I was wearing a big denim jacket, gloves, because I was determined to show this animal that she could trust me. And it took me probably 3 weeks. And I was finally able to take the jacket off. In another week, I took the gloves off. Now I've had her for well over a year now, and she's like my best friend. I mean, she just gets on me, and she just explores, and she just does everything without a care in the world. And the relationship that I have with that reticulated python there is very, very monument to the same relationship with all my reticulated pythons. So that tells me that the relationship, the bonding, the handling, the interactions that we as keepers do with our animals is paramount to how they're going to treat us when we have them out.
Agreed.
Now I'm just like, do I want one? Yeah,
Bro, you work with colubrids. What do you... Shut up.
you wear a jacket for 3 weeks, bro. 3 weeks.
Okay, and that's with the... So, okay.
Garrett, you see how big their fangs are?
And it... Don't get bit. Be smart. But Gary is like literally spitting heat right now because it's exactly how you do it. You continue to work with the animal and you will be okay. Did you get tagged or bit at all during that process of working with your retic?
Yeah. Okay. I have been bit by her actually after the fact. After we become really good friends, I took my eyes off her. And we have to read. That's my job. My job as a keeper of these animals is I have to read my animals. And it's so easy in a position like mine to get complacent. And you know, you reach in, you have her in your hands, you turn your head, you put your hook down, and you're looking at something else, and all of a sudden you get tagged on the arm. Because I felt her buck, you know, and instead of listening to that buck in my hand and saying, well, maybe she doesn't want to be held right now, I continued to try to get her out. So I have to learn how to read my animals, listen to my animals' behavior, and be okay with, hey, you know what? It's not a time to come out. It's not a good time to come out. My pied is very much like that. Sometimes I call him the spawn of Satan. You know, I only say that every once in a while I will go to get him out. And if I don't get him out in one fell swoop, then he doesn't come out. He just stays in there. I can come back in a few hours and I can try again. But if I don't get him out on the first try, he gets back in there, he gets into a corner, and he's just like boxing with me. And I don't want my animal stressed out. So I'll close the glass and just let him be, let him go back into his hide, and then come back in again and try and get him out. And he's like, nothing happened. Nothing happened. But I have to read my animal's behavior.
Amen. Thank you. Say it louder for the people in the back. That's reading your animal's behavior. So it's critical. Knowing your animals is critical. Especially when it comes to the larger snakes. Like it's not a suggestion, it's a requirement.
Right. Especially when you're handling bigger snakes. I mean, these animals will do damage. I mean, I don't want to get bit, man. I am not. See, that's the difference between me and a breeder. Breeders are always getting bit, so they're used to it. I'm like a big crybaby if I get bit. You know, like, you know, I'm telling my wife, "Oh, look, I got tagged," you know, and she's a nurse, so she's like, "Get over it," you know. But you know, that's just me. I don't get bit. I've been bit like 3-4 times, and it's been the difference is that it's been the defensive strike, not the food response strike. I'm very careful with these animals, and I don't let anybody. I go out on tour, and I have to go out with my wife, and I have to show her how to do this because I don't want her getting bit. And the reticulated pythons, like I said, you open up, you get anywhere near their enclosures, they are like rockets. They like come out and they will just come right up, and they'll come right to the glass. And it's not because they're pissed off. It's because they got one-track minds. Food. They want food. But you gotta break that. And that's why I use a hook on you know, most occasions, is because I want them to understand it's not feeding time. I don't tap. I take and I rub my snake, and that's usually all it takes. And I can reach in there, grab them out. Emma, she's my 12-foot retic. She's out there. I hardly ever use a hook with her, but it's because she's so big, and I can reach in there. I can rub her body with my arm, and if she turns around, I can get out it quick enough. You know, if I'm in a safe position. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I do it haphazardly, but usually I can go in, get her out, and she comes right out, and she is like, I mean, I don't know how else to put it. You've got a 12-foot animal that's tamer than a kitten. You know what I mean? It's like, it's beautiful. I love it. There's something about having that large snake around you, and then the trust that is between you and that animal. But yeah.
Oh, respect, man. You're just spitting facts and heat, man. I'm just absorbing all of it. Like, this is incredible. Again, like, anybody that watches this live in the future and anybody in the comments that doesn't work with retics, this is exactly what you're looking to do and be working with retics. Like, it's everything is just spot on. We've needed this live for a long time. I can tell you that much, Gary. Thank you, first and foremost.
Pythons are not for everybody. I mean, there's a lot of people that, you know, it's good and bad, the social media aspect of it. We post these beautiful animals online, and people get it in their head, oh, I've got to have one. I want one. You know, but there's a lot of other things that go along with just how that animal looks and how that animal interacts with us on social media. I mean, I've got, like this pied I've got, he's a great animal, absolutely awesome animal, but he's a lot different than the rest of my animals. And I, like I said, I have to know what I'm doing with that animal. I have to be safe for two reasons. Number one, for me, and number two, for the animal. But you know, you get bit by a king snake, that's one thing. You get bit by a reticulated python, that's a whole different game, because you might end up with broken tendons, you might end up with stitches, you might end up with some severe damage. And you know what I mean? There's rules. I don't pull Emma out unless my wife is home. You know what I mean? I do not pull her out, because as much as I love her, as much as I trust her, if something goes wrong, I don't want to be by myself if it happens.
Respect. That's I feel like that's something that's not talked about enough, is that when you know you're going to, I mean, when you're working with retics in general, it's a good rule to have a second person on speed dial or in the house with you. But when you know you're going to work with an animal where something can go wrong, and you know it because of the animal's behavior, it is like priority to have somebody waiting in the wings in case something does go wrong. It could be the difference between life and death of you and the animal at that point. You know, let's talk about that though real quick, Gary. Right, when things go wrong, you know, let's say that retic does get a hold of you. There's not another person around, but you're not in a immediate death situation. But what happens to the animal at that point? It is now food motivated, or it is stressed out beyond reason. You're to a level of behavior where there's real no going backwards, right? That animal's got you once, it may get you again. What people don't discuss is the fatal end of the animal that may happen at that point, right? Without another person around, that could leave you with an option and put you in a corner where you have to end that animal's life to get out of this situation alive. I feel like that's not discussed enough, that when things go wrong, that is one of the consequences. You may not end up in a fatality situation, but the animal may. You know, and that's what we're here to do, is make sure these animals don't end up in that situation.
90% of the time, and I'm just going to speak from my experience on this, is that 90% of the time a bite happens because the owner did something wrong. Something went wrong on the owner's end. Whether it is like, how many happy-go-lucky people do you know that wake up on the wrong side of the bed? Does that make them never a happy-go-lucky guy again? No. It just means that, you know what? Animals are subject to the same thing that we're subject to. And if you get bit, just because this is something that, you know, when you get bit, it depends on the bite, right? Are you getting bit because you stuck your hand into a reticulated python's enclosure and you weren't safe enough to figure out if it was in feed mode? Or did you get bit because you did something wrong and that snake just got scared and said, hey, back off? Typically, reticulated pythons, if you get bit by a defensive bite, you've done something wrong, and that snake is just trying to say, hey, leave me alone. I don't want to be touched right now. There's really no reason to end the snake's life in any way, shape, or form, even if it's a food bite. But if it's a defensive bite, typically what happens is that you see the animal has bit you and it's backed off now, and it's usually in a strike mode where, like, if you do this again, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. So what's the best thing to do? Put the animal back safely. Put the animal away and let it be. Let it do its thing, and I wouldn't touch it for probably 2 to 3 days. Let it get out of stress mode and then start over. Now, if you put your hand in an enclosure and you get a food bite, that's different. You get wrapped up by even a super dwarf. I mean, don't think for a minute that because the super dwarf is half the size of the mainland, that it's not as strong as the mainland. It's got the same amount of teeth. It's got the same strength. It's just not as long. And trust me, you can get just as damaged by a super dwarf as you can by a mainland. So there's tricks. I've never had it happen. So what I'm going to give you is parrot talk, what I have heard other people do. Keep credit cards handy. You can slide a credit card under the mouth and pry the mouth up and off rather than pull. Because if you pull, you're going to rip your tendons, skin, get stitches. You're going to get ripped wide open. Plus, you're going to hurt the snake. So if at all costs, do not rip the snake off your arm. There was a viral video going around about a woman. She handled that bite like an absolute champ. I'll bet there's probably 90% of the people, they've seen this video. She got bit by a reticulated python, and it was a food bite.
Time out. Hold on. Can we time out that real quick? Hold on. I'm going to fact check that video real quick. No, this is not an attack on you, Gary. That video is fucking staged, just to let you know. And it is one of the worst videos on the internet for us tick keepers, right? Yeah, she handled the bite like a champ. She was expecting the bite. It was 100% staged. That happened in my hometown. That's in my state.
Oh, okay.
It was a shopkeeper in Arizona. And the video, it came out, the video man released a bunch of stuff. It's all been taken down since. Shout out to Rodriguez Reptiles for exposing this first and foremost. He was the one that let everything out. It was staged. It was all 100% from start to end. It was intended to happen. What wasn't intended to happen was there was a severed artery. So now let's move forward. Yes, she did handle the bite like a champ. It was staged. It's a horrible look on us. But what did go wrong, there was a severed artery. Yes. I don't know. Did you watch have you seen the full thing? Like where the cameraman shows the puddle of blood?
Yeah, I saw the video before it got edited. I actually saw it when it first hit the internet. And there was a lot of bad things, but I'm still going to say that there's actually some good things about that video, staged or not, because she really showed you don't pull that retick off. She stood there. She remained calm. Now, staged or not, she remained calm. And how easy is that to do when you've got a large snake wrapped around you? You're probably going to be freaking out going, help me get this fucking thing off me, right? You know, rip it off, right? But she did everything that she could to remain calm. And I think in hindsight, somebody like me sees that video and says, okay, that was a good response. So there was some education to that, staged or not. But the reality is that if you do get that, I've heard Listerine, you use alcohol. You can use things that will get into that snake's mouth that won't hurt it, but will basically let it release. Yeah. Once they release, once they realize that they're not going to eat you, they're not going to bite you anymore. They're done. They realize that you're not food, and you could probably go right back to handling the snake, but it's probably a good idea to put the snake away and make sure you don't have to go to the ER.
Respect.
But it's huge. They're the retick keepers. There's two things I don't post on social media. Number one is bites. I've been bit, and I don't show pictures of bites that I get because it's a bad look on us. And I don't show feeding videos, whether it's frozen thawed. None of my snakes eat live food, but I do not show feeding videos because even a frozen thawed feeding video is going to be somebody going, hey, they're feeding my pet to that snake. You know, I don't condone it. People can do it all day long. I really don't care. But on my stuff, I used to do it. And I still have videos. So if you go to my YouTube, you will see that I have frozen thawed feeding videos on my page, but I won't do it anymore. And it's just because I believe that's part of responsible reptile keeping. That's just me. Now I don't preach that, but I don't preach it to anybody else. There was a question. Can I go back to that question? Somebody asked me a question.
Which one was it?
The question was, how do I establish a trusting relationship with my animals?
Oh, okay. I know which one you're talking about then.
Yeah, and it's consistency. You know, this is another thing that I'm going through right now is that I'm looking at my age. Yeah, this is it right here. I'm looking at my age and I'm looking at my animals and how long they're going to live and the time that I'm allotting to each animal. And I think that the more that you handle your animals, the more that they get accustomed to human touch. I think that's simple math for me, is that, like I said, I have one animal and he's still a baby. He's 6 months old. So he's still got some baby features about him, plus the fact that his umbilical cord was wrapped around his head, so his eyesight's kind of bad. And I've had to really think outside the box with this animal because I think its eyesight is kind of messed up. So what it does to me is that it relies on touch. And that's why I have this thing with that animal. My pied, if it doesn't come out on the first attempt, if it gets away from me and gets back into a corner, I leave him alone. Let him go. Let him calm back down. And then I come back out and I try it again. But the first thing with Cora, what I learned was 15 minutes every day. positive handling interaction experience. I wanted that animal to go back into that enclosure without striking, without biting, and without being pissed off. And I wanted it to come out the same way. And for 15 minutes, all I would do was sit there and let it go through my hands. And if that's boring, that's what it took. And I would just sit there and go like that to the point where we get comfortable. I would let it come up so far, and I would take it away from my face and just keep its interest out here, and just keep it going through my hands. It took me, like I said, with her, it took about 3 to 4 weeks. My other animals, sometimes quicker. But it's consistency. None of these animals sit in an enclosure for more than a day or two. That's it. And I'm handling them all the time. So to me, that is how you develop that trust. It's something that doesn't happen overnight. It's something that happens over time. And it's something that these animals are going to get from me, hopefully for the rest of their lives.
No, respect. That's awesome. That's exactly what this is about. And when you're letting the snake slide through your hands, right, especially in a flighty situation, like you can even make it like almost like a fun challenge with the animal and bring a different energy to it, right? So where you're not as nervous and you're not as worked up, concerned about the animal getting away or concerned about the animal turning around on you. Is just how, can you keep up with the animal? And, it's almost like ducking and dodging when you're trying to keep the focus in front of you. And it almost becomes a game without becoming a game. And, working with flighty animals, it changes, in my opinion, changes the energy that you bring once you start changing your mental. You're not, because the animal feels what, they're feeling what you're putting out. And in some cases, and especially the new keepers, right, like they see that video, right? Regardless, that video is scary. They see some of the bite videos on YouTube. They hear us talk about it, right? These animals can sever tendons and do a lot of damage. There's a bit of nervousness that comes to it. So once you take that away from handling these animals in any way that you can, and the energy changes, it brings a different playing field to it. Like, there's no hesitation when you're pulling these animals out. That's incredible.
So this right here is a 68.75% Kalatoa, 6.25% Jampea, produced by Eric Lee, that I bought from Chris McVicker. Hey. And she would piss and shit all over me every time I got her out. To the point where I didn't want to get her out anymore. I was tired of it. I was afraid that it was something that was never going to stop. And consistency. This animal, she loves being out. She just absolutely, do I know that? I don't know that for a fact, but she certainly gives me the idea that she's okay being out with me. I haven't been pooped or peed on by this animal in close to a year now. And this is a 3-year-old female reticulated python.
God, it's gorgeous. I'm just like, man, can't wait to get mine. Put all this work into it.
Now, I do have one that Celia, my Solaire that I got out earlier, she does poop and pee on me, but it's not because she's mad. I think she just gets some sort of a stimulation when I get her out. So I actually have a bucket, and it works in my favor. She poops and pees in the bucket, and then her cage cleanup is like minimal.
Easy. Yeah. I need that snake like that.
I wish they were all like that.
I was like, well, I need that snake like that, but that thing is gorgeous, Gary.
Thank you.
And I'm just like, man, this is a lot to take in too. I'm absorbing this as we're doing this show, So I'm like, damn.
So on top of all of this, Gary, right? It's in the comments here. I guess we'll cover this now. How do you manage burnout while you perform music, maintain the husbandry, behavioral work of your reptiles and family life?
That's actually a really good question, because I've thought about, what happens if. I've been in my band for 7 years. I've been a musician for way a lot longer than that. I've kept reptiles responsibly. I'm going to say that I've kept responsible reptile for about 5 years now. I've had reptiles since I was a kid, but it just isn't until probably recently that I really learned, and I keep learning. And I think that for me, learning more about these animals and better care, that's fun. I mean, it's like I get super excited about stuff. I get excited about the new room I'm going to build for these guys. I get excited when I come in here and I start thinking about like what I might do differently inside their enclosures. I have not approached it yet. Like, I got to go do that again. I got to change waters. I got to, but it's part of who I am, I guess. It's nothing that I'm bored of or I'm tired of. Oh, I guess she went in all by herself. But it's something that I just don't get tired of. I truly love it. But I also have my limit too. I know what it's like to have 20 plus snakes. And remember, I'm not a breeder, I'm a keeper. So you have a keeper that's got that many snakes. To me, my responsibility lies with making sure that all of the snakes that I own in my possession have enrichment. Again, enrichment is not inside these enclosures. Enrichment is me having them out, letting them climb around me, taking them outside, doing whatever I can to let that animal stretch out to its fullest potential. And this one right here, but this is my call albino boa constrictor. I'll put him down at the lower end of my property. He climbs all the way up the hill. It takes him probably 15 minutes to do it. But he does. He gets all the way down and comes all the way back up. And I just look at him like, where else in the world is that animal going to be able to do that? It's probably about a good 400-foot stretch. And that's a 5-foot snake. So he's going all the way down at the bottom and coming all the way to the top to me. And I have the ability to give these animals that enrichment. So I just absolutely love it. And the cool thing is like when I go out on tour, there's a couple of videos that I posted on my my YouTube, and it does involve frozen thawed feeding. It's probably before I decided not to do it anymore, but I had to teach my wife how to do it. I had to teach my wife how to open these enclosures, how to feed the snakes, how to properly defrost. It's amazing how many people don't know how to properly defrost a frozen animal. I've had people ask me, like, I left it out all day. Is that right? To me, I use a temp gun, and I make sure it's like between 90 and 95 degrees. So, I mean, that's me. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's been working. But don't feed a frozen animal to your reptiles, guys. That will harm your animal. It could quite kill them too, because their insides don't know how to digest and don't know how to defrost. They're cold-blooded animals. But trust me, I've had this before. People have asked me about that. So don't use a microwave either.
Too late.
Ask Chris the results of using a microwave.
Invite me over for dinner if you've had frozen rats in your microwave.
Oh, I had to throw that whole microwave out and get a new one, man. That thing blew up in that microwave. It was horrible, bro.
But
it was my first time thawing out a rat. I didn't know I wasn't supposed to put it in the microwave. Like,
it's on the package, bro. It says do not microwave.
Not on this package. It was a clear package. Actually, it was a Ziploc package. Let me say that. So it wasn't on there.
What good ass place are you buying frozen thawed rats from?
Yeah, it blew up in the microwave, so I had to go and buy another one.
I will tell you that on Thanksgiving, if you come to my house and I ask you to go in the freezer, you will find frozen thawed rats right next to the ice cream. Or frozen rats, not thawed, but you'll find frozen rats in my freezer next to the ice cream.
See, shout out to your wife because she tolerates you being a keeper. She, she is a fellow keeper when you're away. I'm not allowed to do that in the main freezer. I have to have separate areas to keep them in.
That's because so the truth about my wife is that she never owned reptiles before me. We've been together for about 20 years, and when I moved in here, I had 2 boa constrictors, and like I said, I didn't know anything about reptile keeping. I was cohabbing 2 boa constrictors together. Wrong. Please don't do that. I know better today. But that's what I was doing back 20 years ago. And she was okay with all this. She was okay with my reptiles. But now she's got lizards. Like she's got a Euromastics, and she's got a bearded dragon. She's got a gecko. She's got a tegu. We got a baby tegu from Christian Goyer. I think that's how you pronounce it, Goyer. We've got, I say she does because she takes care of them. We've got 2 sulcata tortoises outside that are probably 150 pounds each. Literally, you can't pick them up anymore. I mean, to me, it's like all I can do to get them into a wheelbarrow. If we got to take them to like an expo or something like that, the kids love the sulcata tortoises. So anytime we go to like a kids fair or something like that, the sulcata tortoises get loaded up. But they are tanks, man. And we've got Russians, we've got redfoots, we've got a 55-year-old California desert tortoise. I mean, we've got, and that's my wife's stuff. That's the stuff that she takes care of.
That's
snakes, the snakes aren't her thing, but she'll do it for me.
That's awesome. So let me ask you something, right? When you go out on tour, so first and foremost, let's backtrack, right? Let's cover this the right way, because I done screwed up. I should have flowed into this. You're a musician.
Yes.
You play in a band, and your band's name is
Nevayan.
Okay. What kind of music do you guys play?
We play like Queensryche and Iron Maiden, Judas Priest. They were all to have a baby. You'd have Nevayan. You know, we play.
That's badass.
You know, we're not Cookie Monster metal. We're not. You know, we're melodic, dual guitar attack, harmonies. You know, we get a lot of good reviews. We've toured with some pretty big name bands. We've opened for some very large name bands. We're recording our 3rd album right now, so hopefully this year we'll have our 3rd album out. I love it, man. I'm living my dream, you guys. I am living my dream. So that really goes back to like how do I get burned out? I'm like you know who said it best? I'm going to repeat this because I can. Lady Tiz Exotics, right? Oh, I'm living my dream with my own personal jungle.
Yep.
I'm serious because these guys are all on bioactive. So it's like a jungle, right? And I get to come home from work. I get to come home to my house and I get to enjoy my own home jungle. How could I possibly get burned out on that? I get to go, and I have toured 24,000 miles since 2018 with the ability to go over to the UK, Germany, Spain, Italy, France. And how could I possibly get burned out on that? You know? And then my wife, who supports everything that I do, we have such a wonderful relationship. I mean, it's like, how could I possibly, I have everything I've ever wanted. Everything I've ever wanted. You know, I don't ever see, I mean, I'm not a future tripper, so I don't look at what I'm going to be in 5 years or where I'm going to be in 5 years. But I'm pretty sure that in 5 years, if you guys did a check-in with me, the only thing that's going to change are there's going to be larger enclosures in a different room.
That's awesome.
Dax, Taylor, I love you guys. Dax and Taylor, I'm just going to plug D&T real quick because these guys I didn't even know these guys, right? Social media, they're messaging me and like they've known me all along. We end up going out to Arlington. They invite us over to their house. I see their setups. You want to talk about having some beautiful, beautiful retics. Go to Dax and Taylor's house. Go check out their collection. Hang out with Dax and Taylor. And you guys, I'm going to be in Arlington. If you need help, I'm going to offer the same to Chris. But if you guys need help in Arlington in September, let me know, man. Because I think it's just going to be me coming out. So I want to come out. I want to hang out with you guys. But anyways, this is the relationship we get.
Mm-hmm.
It brought me to a point where I bought a plane ticket. I stayed out in Arlington for almost a week, and I got to hang out with some awesome people like D&T Retics, Lab Exotics, Chris McVicker and Sarah McVicker. I got to meet Jennifer from Mod Exotics for like 5 minutes, and hopefully we get to have more interaction. Jenny's supposed to come to Arlington in September, so hopefully I get to meet her. There's just so many people that I've been connected to through social media that when you meet them, they're just as cool in real life as they are when they're behind a computer screen. I love it.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's I think that's the goal for all of us. Yeah, shout out if you want to check out Gary's band. Click the link. Go give them a follow. You guys, I listened to you guys for a while. You're incredible. I enjoyed it. I'm not, like I told you in the chat that we were having. We initially started talking. It's not like exactly my genre that I follow, but I appreciate what you guys do. Music is music to me, and it's as long as you got talent, that's all that matters. You guys are fucking kick-ass. Your stage presence, by the way, is second to none, though. Let me tell you that. As a person that has been going to shows my entire fucking life, I'm sure you're familiar with them, A Day to Remember, right? They're the Cookie Monster metal that you talk about, but
I love them.
What A Day to Remember does off track is their stage presence. And that's what drew them to me outside of like, okay, this is cool. Like they definitely have the Taylor Swift shit going on. Like anybody can pick it up and play it. But you guys bring the presence that Jeremy McKinnon and the rest of the band do when you're on stage. Like I want to see you guys live. I don't care if you guys sing fucking opera music the whole time. It's that energy from every one of you guys that combines on that stage. It's just like, oh my God, what a band. Incredible. Sorry, I totally had to reach around on that one because that's where my heart is.
Actually, by nature, I'm a recluse, man. I'd much rather be at home, hanging out with my animals, just doing kind of stuff around here. But, I've got this alter ego, call it whatever you will. When I get on stage, something happens. And when I'm on stage and I look out and I see people getting into what we're doing, there's a connection, and that connection is very unbreakable for me. So I engage in it and I thrive on it. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's just like I'm missing it. We haven't been on tour since 2021. So I'm hoping this year we're going out and hitting, if not, getting across the sea, we're in the United States doing another world tour.
Man. Incredible. So, hold on. You said alter ego, right? So you recluse in your everyday life, but when you go up there, it's like it's like night and day difference, right?
Yeah.
Holy shit! Thank you. Sorry, on a completely off the topic note, that's how I am with the podcast. Like when I tell people, like I don't go out, I don't do social shit. Like I'll go to shows, but like I'm not there for the people in the crowd. I'm there for the band. And,
right.
To be in the moment, and then it's like right back to I'd rather just go straight home, go to bed. Like, I'm done, I'm tired, leave me alone. I want to go drink. I don't want to go hang out. I don't want to party after. Just want to go home. So thank you for making that click. I relate to that. Thank you.
But it's the same with the shows, the reptile shows. That's the same. Like when you go to the reptile shows, people want to meet you, talk to you, take pictures with you. It's fun.
It is. Don't get me wrong. Reptile shows. But I'll tell you, like, there's a time when you want to be there and you want to do that, but then there's a time when it's like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be around people, and I just want to be kind of by myself. And I don't know what that is about me, but it's a fact about me. And I'm really good one-on-one with people, but you put me in a crowd of people, and it's just a whole different setting for me.
Respect. I feel it.
I feel that too. Sometimes I'm like, I don't want to be here. I like being by myself, enjoying talking to you guys like this, doing the show, the podcast, like Levi says.
I'd rather do in-person podcasts, to be honest with you, though. Like there's a different energy to the in-person. But again, that's the other side of me. Like when I'm on the podcast, like I do want to be sociable. I do want to talk to people. I do want to, bring whatever the hell it is I bring. So I relate to it. It's like an alter ego. Like the second that camera goes up, like it's game on.
Right.
All I want to meet are the like retake keepers, the big ones. I just want to meet everybody in the retake game. They're just badass people. I just got to say, awesome people. So,
speaking of meeting people, Gary, you're going to the Arlington in September, you said?
That's correct.
Okay. We'll definitely make it to that one. I was supposed to go to the upcoming one, but I kind of screwed that up. My planning went to hell. But definitely plan to link up in September, if not sooner. We were talking about possibly doing Anaheim.
Okay.
If you could even just attend, I would love to link up. That would be awesome.
Yeah. The Anaheim's probably 7 hours from my house, but if I can plan it, I'll be there.
Is Pomona any closer to you?
No, it's in Southern California. So Southern California, it's like a whole other state.
Remember what you said? You don't want to go there, man. You don't want to go to Southern. Tell him, Gary.
You got to come to Northern California. We've got better shows up in Northern California.
What shows do you guys have up there? Put me on game. Let's go.
We got the Northern California Reptile Show happening in February. I believe it's a 3rd February, 3rd Saturday or 3rd weekend in February. We have Brazilian Nation that takes place in April. We have the Sacramento Reptile Convention, but that happens the same weekend as NARBC. There's the did I say San Mateo? There's 4 or 5 big reptile shows in Northern California.
Okay. Word. I'm going to have to message you about those and make it out there. I mean, California is really not that far from me. I don't know how I haven't made it out there yet, but I just haven't.
Now,
maybe it's
especially from Arizona. You guys are like, I mean, probably what, 6-7 hours? Oh, then you got to come up. So you're another 6-7 hours. We drove. I remember coming through Arizona back home from a tour. I think our last show was in I don't remember. It was in Texas. We played in Texas. We came through Arizona to come back home. And that last stretch from coming through Arizona back up to Sacramento was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. Long drive.
Sounds like a long drive.
Better.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'd probably just fly in, honestly, if it's going to be that long. That's what I was planning on doing for Texas. And then again, I dropped the ball. So flights got expensive again, man. I remember they were cheap for a while there.
Yeah. I was looking at, coming down. Well, I'm learning that there's things you got to do for flights. You gotta wait. I want to get things done now, right? Like September is 8 months away or so. So I want to take care of shit now. But if I look at a flight to Dallas Fort Worth right now, it's like $800 for one person.
What the?
Yeah, that's what I said. But then
8 months out.
You gotta wait like 1 to 2 months before you go, and then go on a Tuesday when you buy your airline ticket or whatever. So I'm going to take in what everybody's been telling me. I'm going to wait until probably July to buy my airplane ticket on a Tuesday and see if it reduces down to like $300 round trip. That would be like my goal. And we stayed at an Airbnb, which was really cool. I mean, it was literally walking distance from the where the NARBC was. So I'm looking forward to going again. I'm really looking forward to this. It was such a wonderful experience to be at in another state. Where I run into people in California all the time that I know, but being in another state and actually running into some vendors that I knew from California that were over in Arlington, that was kind of cool. But just meeting new people in general and having people walk up to you and go, "Hey, man, you're Gary's Constrictors." All right, I'm like, "Hey, yeah, you're so-and-so." Yeah, we know each other by our Instagram handles,
Mm-hmm. That's what they always said. Yeah. Everybody's like, "You're so-and-so, aren't you?" Yeah.
So
you're Flexin and Sexin.
See that? I'm telling you, man, it's gonna be freaking weird. Damn podcast name.
That's why I always say co-host FTL Reptiles Levi.
People know it's a Sexin and Flexin. Get out of here. Anyways, Gary, I have to know. So you started with boas, right? You said that's how what start. Is that what started all of this for you?
So when I was a kid, I actually got a hold of a reticulated python. And my mom was deathly afraid of snakes. And somehow I managed to put it into my closet and in an aquarium with no heat, probably not even a lid, but I'm sure it did have a lid. But anyways, I got it up there I don't know, 15 years old, 14, 15 years old. And my mom was going in to clean my closet one day, something that moms never do with their son's, stuff in the closet. And she saw that snake up in the closet and freaked out. But she saw me handle the snake too, so she allowed me to keep it. And I don't remember what happened to that snake. I was a kid. I got into drugs. I did a lot of stupid things when I was younger. And so I don't remember what happened to that snake. But when I cleaned up my life and I changed a lot of things, I started getting into boa constrictors again. And I've had boa constrictors pretty consistently since I was, 27 years old. And, it was just irresponsible reptile keeping. We didn't have the internet back then. We didn't have the access to information back then. We didn't have everything that's available to somebody who's never kept a snake in their life, right? We didn't have that back then. We basically relied on what somebody else told us, or maybe nobody else told us anything, but we just wanted to have the biggest snake available so that when we went outside, people were just shock and awe with the size of that animal. I mean, that's what we did in the 80s and the 90s. And it wasn't safe. It wasn't smart. It wasn't good. But we didn't have the information that was available to us back then. So as I kept on going and the snakes got bigger, and where I live now, I've lived up here, and there wasn't like the access for food. We didn't have like a place to go buy chickens and large feeder frozen rats and things like that. We didn't have that available to us. So I ended up giving my snakes away to a serpentarium out here, and I stopped actually owning reptiles for about 5 or 6 years. My daughter had a kid. My granddaughter comes up to me about 5 years old or so, and she says, "Hey, Grandpa, I want to learn about all the big snakes that my mom grew up with." And I was like, "Oh yeah, let's go to the store." Market at the time, but I'll tell you what I did was I did a lot more research on animals, and we got a ball python, and that was my reintroduction back into this. We had probably 30 ball pythons at the time, and it was just a lot. You got all these racks to clean, waters to change, snakes to handle. I had these grandiose dreams, probably like any other ball python keeper out there, that I'm going to hit the black panda, right? Because now I know about Morph Market. Now I see that $15,000 ball python out there, and I'm learning what it takes to make that. So I'm buying all this stuff, and it takes 5 years, 5 years to get to that point where you might hit that animal, right? And I want it right now kind of guy. So I got another boa constrictor after I, was into this whole ball python thing. And then what happened is also I started running into problems with husbandry, the feeding, with the ball pythons. They stop eating for absolutely no reason. If you bop their nose with their food, they won't take it. It was frustrating, man. So I ended up selling every one of my ball pythons, and I got into the boa constrictors because I love boas. They're great animals, but if you own boas and you haven't had a retic in your hand for a while, once you put a retic in your hand, a good, very active, very gentle, curious retic, it's a game changer. It's an absolute game changer. It doesn't matter if it's a super dwarf. It doesn't matter if it's a mainland. If you've got something like a 6 to 8 foot reticulated python in your hand, and it's just being very curious, and it's just being very explorative, and you're comfortable and it's comfortable, it's a total game changer. And so I've gone from, I'm actually reducing down to retics only. I've got one of my boas that I'm going to keep because I find it hard to sell him. He's a great animal, but in the end, I'm looking at my age. I'm looking at the longevity of the life of these animals, the size these animals can potentially get, and my time available to each one of them. And I just get so much more from the retics. So I've been keeping retics now for a good solid 1.5 to 2 years straight. And I'm at a point now where it's just, that's all I really want to own is retics. So now with all this information available to us, it's so much easier it takes money. It's not something that you can read on the internet, you can watch on YouTube, and all of a sudden you've got all this information. There's a lot of money that goes into the setup, the lighting, the substrate. I mean, there's a whole thing versus bioactive versus paper. I've done every piece of substrate you could possibly put into an enclosure, and there's no wrong way as long as you're not changing it out. If you're not changing out your substrate, you're doing it wrong, because these animals pee, and they pee a lot. Trust me, if you had one pee on you, you know how much they pee. If you have them on paper, you know how much they pee. But for me, it's just like they seem to thrive more when their humidity's up. And I get the best humidity results on bioactive. I do what's called a hybrid bioactive. So there's no plants in my enclosures. It's all cork bark, moss, peat moss, soil, organic soil. Just a recipe of organic soils that I put together that really keep their humidity up. To me, it makes their skin shine better. It makes just them happier and more interactive in general, I guess. So of all the substrates that I've done, this is where it's at for me right now. Well, I went on a tangent. How did I get into this? Proactive.
That's I'm moving that route right now. I'm switching over. I started way back. It was Rodriguez Reptiles told me he uses, what is it? Peat? It's not peat moss. It's goddamn. It's a
spag moss.
Spag moss. No, it's peat moss. It's peat moss you can buy from Home Depot, and it's like a topsoil, but it's completely pesticide free. It's the specific brand that he showed me. I'd have to pull it up, but it's like topsoil. It's just a different brand. It's guaranteed to be pesticide free, organic, so on and so forth. And he was like, bro, just try this. I use it for all my frogs, and I'm starting to use it on my snakes. And I went head in first. I was like, bet, bro, let's go. Tired of dealing with all the chips and the prices and all the nonsense that goes into all of that. So I tried it, and I've been digging it, man. You're right. You're spot on with that, because it holds moisture. The humidity levels are almost perfect, even in Arizona, where it's drier than a motherfucker. And I'm like really starting to play with it now, and like add in different types of soil and like really experimenting with it. Like I'm definitely feeling you bio people. Like I really am. You guys are onto something here.
I was going to say, Gary, you should make your own substrate.
That's what I do. Actually, I make my own substrate.
Oh, well, then I'm going to get it from you.
This is funny, right? Because we got a lot of pot farms up here. And they've got the soil store, and that's where I go and get all my substrate, because it's all organic. These guys use like organic potting soil, so it's perfect, because there's no pesticides, there's nothing in it, it's untreated, and it's whole. So I get these big. I've got one room that's got nothing but soil in it, and it's got like bags, like double Costco plus freaking soil bags of 3 different types of stuff that I put together and I mix and I put in here. I've got a friend of mine that has a magnolia tree, and she said I can take magnolia leaves whenever I want. So right outside this door here, I've got a big old pile of magnolia leaves that I've got to soak, and I'm going to redo some of the soils and some of the leaves in here. That's one of my projects that I got coming up to do. But yeah, see, this is the stuff that makes it fun for me, because it's like I got everything in line. I got everything here. I can do it. It takes me about a weekend, and I have a lot of fun doing it, because I take a lot of pictures too. So once I'm all done, I'm going to come start taking snapshots and posting that stuff online. And you know what? I love it. I absolutely love it when people interact, man. Even if it's just a like, or when somebody says, man, that looks great. That makes me feel good, because it makes me feel like I'm doing the right thing for my animals. It validates that I'm doing the right thing for my animals.
Respect, yeah. I agree. I concur.
He's on fire, bro. Somebody put him out. Put him out.
I'm animated.
I love it, man. I love it. It's better.
So real quick on the boas, how far did you get into the boas?
Well, all I kept were like high-end boas. I hooked up with people like Ben Cincy Snakes. I really enjoyed. There's a lot of drawing names, but Ben was one of the ones that I really connected with, and he was doing like IMGs and hypos, and and I was seeing these IMGs and all these high end boas, and I wanted them, the moon glows, and I started buying them, and I've got a good job. My wife's got a good job, and so I can afford to spend a little extra money. And this is another thing to me. If you're going to spend $1,000, $1,500 on an animal, please use that same amount of money for the care for that animal. Just don't box it into something. And I don't know. Maybe I'm speaking out of turn, right? But I just think that if it's like a guitar, right? If you're going to buy a $5,000 guitar, but you don't have $150 for a case, you shouldn't buy that guitar. Point. The same thing with an animal. If you don't have the money to spend on an accessories for that animal, you shouldn't buy the animal. But I'm speaking from a keeper's point of view as well. I'm not speaking from. There's a lot of different mindsets here, but like right now, down here I've got a. Let me see. I'll pull them out real quick. This is a Suriname that I purchased from Craig Land.
Oh shit! Okay.
He's a Pokegron and Futo line. Truly a beautiful animal. This Suriname just has a tail for days.
Oh,
Yeah.
You heard Levi get excited, Gary? Did you hear that?
What's that?
I said, did you hear Levi get excited? He was like, yeah.
See,
yeah.
I'm on the man. I'm gonna get some shit because I'm in the wrong fucking community for this one. But man, I don't know. Like I'm torn. I'm working with the super dwarves. I've got a mainland. I love them. They're a part of my heart for sure. But that other portion, man, it's with what he's holding, bro. I'm telling you, there's just not. Look at that. It's the true red tails, bro. Like, oh my God, the color, the pattern, the tail, the dorsal, the saddle, just everything just speaks to me. Like the minute he had that thing out, I was like, oh my God, like fucking just spew love all over that animal. And their behaviors.
When I bought him,
oh my God. Everybody's drooling.
I wanted the Batwing saddles. That's what I wanted in a Suriname. And the ones available didn't have it. And Craig had messaged me on Facebook and said, hey, man, I've got some Surinames for sale. I just had a litter. Check them out. And I bought 2 of them. They were just incredible. And this guy's temperament has been the same as it's been since day one. Just truly a beautiful animal. So interactive and wonderful to hold, but he's grippy as heck. And I think that's just because of the fact that he's a locality animal. They just they feel like they've got to have a tighter grip on things to feel secure.
They definitely have more of an arboreal behavior to them than the BCI does. I will definitely give that to you. You know what, Adler? How about you mind your business? All right, homie. All right, don't worry about what I'm spewing over here, okay? Oh man, but even like a BCI, man, like it just they're any locality, any boa in general. To me, I'm just so like I'm not gonna lie to you, not in any way, shape, or form, Gary. I tried, man. Like I wanted to get away from the boas. I got in, I was in love, and then like I was exclusive information here, right? I probably won't talk about this again, but I almost forced myself to get away from the boas, right? Like I really love retics. I do. I love super dwarves. I love colubrids. But there's something about boas, man. I can't tell you what it is.
So this guy's for sale, actually.
Don't tell me that.
This guy's for sale. And the thing is that shipping kills it because of how much shipping is for an animal like this. I mean, he weighs probably probably close to 10 pounds or so. And I think we priced it. It was like $150 to get him to the Midwest. So that's the thing. And I get it. You know, I see a lot of conversations with breeders about, you know, this is what it costs. And, you know, people like me buying an animal complaining about what it costs to ship. Well, I'll tell you what, if you go to find out for yourself what it costs to ship an animal, you'll stop complaining about it because it's not cheap. Plus the fact that here we are in wintertime, and, you know, wintertime shuts down. The shippers can't insure the animals. So then you get people pissed off because you're not shipping their animals on the schedule that they want. And you know, the insurance company isn't, you know, going to refund the money if you ship that animal and they say you shouldn't have shipped it. So it's just it's a gamble all the way around, you know. So I'm probably going to limit. I want to see where this animal goes. I really do. I don't want him to go just anywhere. He needs to go somewhere where someone's going to give him the same love that I did. I don't want to see him end up in an enclosure and stay there for the rest of his life.
I'll PM you after this show. We'll talk. Because that is one of the animals on my hit list outside of the doomer list.
I'll show you
Yeah,
one
you
more.
could tell he was drooling.
No, Chucky, I don't have your boas over here. I have mine, princess. And hey, real quick, shout out to the homie Marcos. Thank you for showing up, bro. Talk about one of the all due respect, Marcos. This is not me shit talking, but slept on breeders, bro. Like the Arizona boa breeders, I feel like Marcos is slept on. So my Arizona peeps, let's change that shit because that man's got some fucking fire.
Oh,
Here's my Vin Russo produced Hog Island.
Ooh, 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 ooh. Yes.
She's a
again?
female, 3 years old. She's also a snake that I'm selling. This is what I wanted to get into. This is what when I was into the boas, this is really what I wanted to do, is just the locality boa constrictors. And once I got into the retics, it was a game changer. Like I said, you know, so I really just want to focus on owning retics. But these animals have been just babied by me. They've been raised well and taken care of and loved, and, you know, I hope I can say this, you know, I say this confidently, that I've given them the best care possible. And it just, you know, look at the tail on this girl.
It's insanity, man. Just absolute insanity.
You know, we all talk about that true red tail, but look at that Hog Island, just that checkerboard pattern on the end of that. It's just beautiful. And the oranges
stands out.
This is a Vin Russo produced animal. So she's got very good bloodlines. And I don't care if somebody wants, if I sell them to a breeder, I just really want people to love these animals like I have. And she's just, I've seen some pretty defensive Hog Island boas, and she's far from it.
Yeah, they're not as popular as all the others, man. And it's such a shame that they're not, because they're gorgeous. Like, that is goals right there. Is like a boa keeper or a boa breeder. Just goals.
I mean, she is blonde as get, you know, and then just that orange descent into her tail is, oh my God, just beautiful. He's buying a mainland. Hey, you know what? My next if I did buy a mainland, it would be from you guys. That I promise you.
Yeah, Dax has some heat over there, man. That boy ain't playing around.
She's got some serious pinks to her. She's just a beautiful, beautiful animal. And,
yeah, Max, that's a Hog Island.
So I've been fortunate enough to have access to people that have access to these animals. You know, that animal. So I told you I bought 2 Surinoms, but I've only got one. I've got a friend of mine that I bought that second Suriname for, and when I bought it, I said, "Oh, by the way, I bought you one, and you owe me $800." and she paid me. So, you know, so she's got the female for that animal right there. And then she did the same thing for me with that Hog Island. She bought a male and a female, and she goes, "Oh, by the way, I bought you a female." So I paid off the money that she spent on that animal. So that's how I ended up. Is just people that I've met that we've just developed really great relationships with. That they have connections. I now have connections, and we just we're able to get these beautiful animals. Come on out. I've got my pusher over here. He's all, hey, I want some attention too. Oh, this is another Eric Lee produced animal.
I'm excited. Let me see.
So check this out. This is a 3-year-old, 33% Calatoa, 33% Jampea, lavender albino, het snow. And I got her from Chris McVicker. And this is a female. And she was a wedger. She was wedging her face in between the glasses I have here. Just messed her face up. And we put her in a toad ranch enclosure. Now look at her. She's still got a little bit on the bottom of her lip, but boy, I tell you what, she looks 100% better than she did. But this girl is amazing. But this is a 3-year-old. Now, what makes a super dwarf, you guys? They say 50% of the locality makes the super dwarf. So 33%, she's not a true super dwarf. She's 33% Calatoa, 33% Jampea. So she's basically half super dwarf, half dwarf. But she's the smallest 3-year-old in my collection. So that just goes to show that whatever people tell you about the size of these animals, it may differ no matter what it is. It might differ one way or the other. It might even be smaller than they say. But who would have thought that the smaller percentage Calatoa would actually be smaller than the larger percentage Calatoa?
Yeah, something about Eric's, man.
Yeah, this is just a beautiful animal. The lights washed her out, but if you look, she looks like she has.
Oh, damn.
I would
That's
love
gorgeous.
to see her in person in the sun.
Yeah.
Oh,
Phenomenal.
You asked me to give you 3 of my favorites, and I was like, God, 3? That's all?
Give us all your favorites. How about that? Give them. Let's see them.
Oh, yeah, look at you come out. Yeah, you're pretty on point, aren't you? You can't see it, but I've got my golden child right here. And she is just, ooh, yeah. We're not going to get her out. See, and that to me is just smart handling right there, because I went to go get her out, and I used the hook on her. And when I went to go get her, she turned around and she was looking right at my arm. And that was enough for me to say, as many times as I handled that snake and I've never had a bad experience, maybe this wasn't the time.
respect, man. Yeah, I constantly talk about it. There are days with my mainland I can walk into her enclosure and interact with her, and there's no signs of food motivation, no signs of defense. And then there's days that she'll look at me and there's a look. She gives it to me, and I know there's a muscular behavior where she turns and looks at me. What the? And it's not the day. I know for a fact it's like, okay, just like me, when I come out of bed, I know there are days, don't fucking talk to me today. Just leave me alone. I will bite your face off. She is in the same mood. And it doesn't happen very often, but there are days it's just like, okay, cool, I'm out. Like, nope, not today.
Yep, you got to respect them. You've got to respect them.
Yeah, I like that Max had brought that up, like respecting it, the fact that it's an apex predator. It's, it's not a puppy dog, not in any way, shape, or form. It's not a little husky running around that's going to lick your face. It's an apex predator.
But you can get it.
I want to clarify that. They are puppy dogs. They are. They live in their world. And every time I open up an enclosure, I am going into their world. And it's kind of like somebody walking into your house. You know, it's like that. There was a movie called 21 First Dates, or you know, that girl with Drew Barrymore, and she never could remember.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
That's these guys. They know who I am, but they don't ever remember that I open up every 2 weeks for food. They think every time they're getting fed. So I have to respect that. If I can get past that point, if I can break them, they live in 3 modes. I'm sure we've all heard this, but I'm going to say it. Retics live in 3 modes: think, flight, defense. If you can get them out of flight and defense, you can get them into think mode, that's where you want them. Or food mode. I'm sorry, food mode. There's 4 modes. You open up this enclosure, 9 out of 10 times, they are in food mode. You got to get them into thinking mode. If you get them into thinking mode, you're golden. You're golden. Get them out. They're puppy dogs.
I was gonna say that too. I was like, you said they were puppy dogs once you tame them down. Exactly what I was gonna say.
I've got my big girl out there, and like I said, you know, I always open up the enclosure. I don't immediately go in. I open it up, and I read her. What is she doing? If I see her turn around and dart at me, I know to use the hook. If she just, and many times I can open that enclosure up, and she doesn't do anything. She just stays exactly in the same position as it was when I started to slide that glass door open. I can reach in there, I can touch her, and she might lift her head up, but that's it. That way I know I can pull her out. She's good to go. She's good to go. But I have to watch, and I think it's important. If and any retic owner on this, I'm sure will agree with me. You have to watch their body language. Their body language will tell you everything when you open up that glass. That's how people get bit. You don't watch the body language, you assume, you get bit, and people get hurt. And then retics get a bad name. In my experience, and I've owned colubrids, ball pythons, boa constrictors, the only thing I haven't owned is venomous, really. Reticulated pythons are absolutely the best animal to own. Best snake, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. They're the best to own.
So, all right, let's cover a little bit of controversy here, right? This is going to be my wrap up. All of us say, like, a lot of the retic keepers, not all of us, because I don't think this is the smartest move, but right, let's say somebody wants to get into retics and it's their first snake. Do you suggest that?
No.
So what do you think? Do you think there's a buildup? Because if somebody came up to me and was like, hey, I want to own a retic, whether it be super dwarf or mainland, that's a conversation later down the road, right? But the species in general of reticulated pythons, I always say work your way up. Start with whatever your best knowledge of a beginner animal is and start working your way up. Go through the chain of the animals, and really at the top of that chain, in my opinion, is the retic. Like, you know, you've made it in the keeper's world when you feel educated and well-rounded enough to own a reticulate. They are one of the most complex, in my opinion, and almost backed by facts at that point, because, again, you're talking animal behaviors, you're talking feeding patterns, safety. A retic covers 99.9% of what we have to practice. What is your take on that?
This is just my opinion, because I know that there's people out there. Retic was probably their first animal, and that's all they've ever owned. And if that's you, man, congrats, because you are probably 1% of the people that will own a retic and have that experience. A lot of times, what'll happen is, and this is where Craigslist and Morph Market, and you get somebody they buy it out of impulse because it looked neat. And they get it as a baby, but they don't realize that in 3 years, depending on what they got, that animal could be 10 feet long. Now what do I house it in? What am I going to keep it in? What do I put it in? So those are just some of the first things that take place. That's if you get past the first 3 years. Sometimes you get a baby reticulated python, and it's bitey. It's just its instinct. It's scared. You're a big person. It's a little animal. You go to get it. You get tagged. You don't like getting tagged. So next thing you know, you're selling it because you didn't
It tagged you.
you didn't stay consistent with it, right? So there's some things to me that and retics are different. I don't care. The boa constrictors and the ball pythons, yes, they do have a feeding response, but I don't think it's anywhere to what a reticulated python's feeding response is. I've owned all of these animals. I feel I can speak to that. There's probably somebody who's going to say, that's not true. They all have the same. Reticulated pythons definitely have rocket-like feeding responses. So if you get locked up with a small reticulated python, that can be a jarring experience to the point where it could say to somebody, I do not want to go through that again. I do not want that animal. I'm going to sell it. These are what happens. This is how animals end up on Craigslist, all sorts of different things. I always tell people, if you want a good starter snake, get a ball python. Ball pythons are generally docile. They're pet rocks. They get you into the basic care of what it takes to keep humidity up, what it takes for your heating, what it takes to feed an animal, because you are feeding a pinky, a rat, a large rat to a ball python. You get to a reticulated python, you're possibly going to be feeding rabbits. And that's a whole different thing. I mean, I know when I fed my first rabbit to Emma, I was still going, man, that's a cute little animal I'm feeding to this, you know? So that's something you've got to take a look at. Are you able to feed your animal bigger animals like rabbits and guinea pigs? And do you have access to those kinds of animals? So always, to me, start out with a ball python, because you know what? Ball python people are a dime a dozen. If you don't want to keep that ball python, you could probably sell it to somebody really fast, right? And then maybe go into a boa constrictor. The difference to me between the boa constrictors, the ball pythons, and the reticulated pythons is boa constrictors can tend to be a little bit unpredictable sometimes. You can have one in your hand and all of a sudden it's just throwing a strike at you for no reason. Now, it doesn't happen all the time. It can happen. Retics can do the same thing. Ball pythons can do the same thing. But my experience is that I've seen it happen more with a boa constrictor than with any other animal. Reticulated pythons, you know, once you've got that larger animal experience, what it takes to house, to care for an animal that gets over 5 to 6 feet long, then you know what? If you feel like you can make that next step, I would go to a reticulated python. The thing about reticulated pythons is that, remember that your boa constrictor, I have an 8-foot boa constrictor in the other room. She's big, she's massive, right? But she's probably not going to get much bigger than that. You get a reticulated python that's going to exceed that within the first 3 to 4 years. It's going to be probably, you know, maybe my 3-year-old, 4-year-old Emma is 12 feet long. So you figure you just went from a 6-foot snake to a 12-foot snake. That's twice the snake, and it's still got twice the snake to go. So if you can honestly ask yourself this question, do I have the ways and means to take care of this animal? Do I have the strength and the physical ability to take care of this animal? Do I have the wits about me to feed this animal what it needs properly so that it can sustain and grow? And finally, when that animal is 20 feet long, do you have somebody that's going to help you with that animal? Because even if it's puppy dog tamed, that is even a 16-foot animal, 18-foot animal. Yeah, rabbits and pigs. That's not something that you can just get anywhere. You know, I actually looked on the internet for pigs, and they're not as easy to find as rabbits. So these are all questions you have to ask yourself. Do some research, because you know what? The internet it's got so much good information out there, and it's got a lot of shitty information out there too. So be careful of what you're listening to. But there's so much relevant and important information about reticulated python keeping that people really need to know about before they make that purchase. Because there's going to be somebody, I guarantee this, tomorrow, that goes to the pet store, They see this cute little orange glow reticulated python that's like 2 foot long in an aquarium with 10 other orange glow reticulated pythons. They're going to take it home and figure out where are they going to get an 8-foot cage in 1 year for that animal. How are they going to treat that animal? You know, so much to think about. Start with a ball python. Start with a corn snake. Start with something else. Get used to handling an animal, then get used to handling a larger animal, then make that plunge and make sure that you're ready for something as needy. These animals are freaking needy. I swear to God, I come in this room and they're all like, "Hey, I want out. Let me out now, please. No, you had him out yesterday. Come on, get me out now. Now it's my turn." I swear to God, that has a lot to do with your bond and your interaction to your animals. As soon as I open up these doors, the animals know I'm in here. And they're already up, especially Cora. Cora comes right to the glass and she's like, "Okay, you're up, I'm up, let's go. Get me out. I want to come out now." You know, I love it. I love it.
It's awesome.
That's badass. I love that.
Right. Chris, you go ahead with
I'm
yours.
going to address something real quick. I see a comment that says an 18 to 20 foot animal is an anomaly. They rarely get that big. A retic. You're very true. That is a very true comment. And I also want to just explain that is kind of like the trade size we always say, 16 to 20 feet. There are reticulated pythons. Females will get bigger than males. So you can very easily end up with a 16 to 18 foot reticulated python. That is a very true statement. A 20 foot reticulated python is fairly rare. You're not going to see a 20 foot reticulated python other than one of the other breeders out there that, you know, has 3 million hits. And it's the wrong way. But typically a 14 to 16 foot reticulated python is very common. And getting over the 16 foot mark, it's not uncommon either. But a 20 foot reticulated python, you know, they're out there. There are people that have them. I don't think it's probably a healthy thing to do, but they do have the ability to get that big. You don't know how big that animal's going to get until it's that big.
Respect.
Michael, are you ready, Gary, for this?
I'm good.
All right. My question is, if you could change one thing in the hobby, what would it be and why? Being husbandry, being anything, the negativity, anything.
If you know, I wish we'd all just like help each other out in a way that's productive. You know, I wish that I don't join any Facebook groups. Too many times I hear people talk about they go to Facebook groups with problems and they get bashed because they're asking a question. Somebody behind a computer pretends they're an armchair quarterback and they start, you know, basically lashing out on somebody because they should have known better, whatever the reason is. We're all in this together. You, me, anybody that owns a reptile, we are all in this together. If one of my reticulated pythons was to escape, that's not just a reflection on me. That's a reflection on everybody. You know, if somebody's iguana escapes, it's not just a reflection on them. It's a reflection on everybody. This is not just a hobby to me. This is a lifestyle. So what I would like, if I could change, I would like everybody to look at it that way. Look at it like this is a cat or a dog the same way, right? Like look at your reptile the same way that somebody might look at their cat or dog. It's a family member. It deserves the same treatment. And we also, as our owners, we need to stand together, you know, so that we could, you know, help one another. I guess I got kind of lost with where I was going with that, but it really leads into the whole back to USR, you know, because they're there for us. They're fighting things that we don't know about. They're finding out about things that we don't know about. They bring it to our attention. They give us the information. They tell us what to do. They make it so simple. They make forms for us to basically fill in the dotted lines and send it off. And it's done. 5 minutes of your time, right, to help out. Now, $40 a month is not a lot of money for me to start a year to spend on a membership. So when USARK goes into a legislation, they go into something where they have, like, I think I calculated there was like 9 million reptile owners in the United States of America. 9 million reptile owners. And how many USARK memberships do you think we have?
Not enough.
Right. So I think in hindsight, we all need to work together. We all need to come together, help each other out. Don't bash on each other. There's obviously in everything that we do, there's going to be relevant information. There's going to be irrelevant information. And we just kind of filter out what works, what doesn't work, but we all work together. That's what I would want to see happen. And if I could see USARK's numbers go up in membership, I wish there was a way that I could do this. I've actually talked with Phil Goss about how do I, as a USARK member, help somebody out who's not a USARK member. And what I do right now is I ask people, if you want a USARK membership, you got to pay for it. You got to put it on your credit card. You DM me a copy of that receipt, and I will PayPal you your $40 back. That way you've got now 1 year to save $40. So you can renew that membership at the when that membership comes up at the next year, and hopefully they do. I mean, I don't know. I probably purchased close to 25, 30, 40, 50 USARK memberships for people over the years. And I just hope that a few of them have saved that $40 up and continued. And when you do that, for me, it just shows the love that we have for our animals and what we do, more so than just being silent in the hobby or in the lifestyle or whatever what we want to call it. So that's never changed.
Respect. Much respect on that.
Dude, I love that. That was a good answer. Good answer, Gary.
Yeah. It has been a hell of a live. Thank you, Gary. Thank you for blessing us with your time, your knowledge, your excitement and passion. If you're interested in it, I see a round 2 in the future, in the near future. Our hearts are with USARK, we're Ticks, BOAs, obviously. And everything that you're doing over there, man, thank you. Thank you very much. It has been a phenomenal night. And again, if you're interested in round 2, I'd jump all over it.
I love it, man. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. I want to thank everybody who participated and jumped on and it warms my heart. I'm speechless when it comes to things like this. So I'm full of gratitude and I appreciate everybody. Thank you.
Absolutely. Hey, plug yourself real quick. Where can the viewers find you?
Yeah, go.
Well, so I've got my Instagram. It's Gary's Constrictors. Right there. I've got my Facebook. It's Gary Tarpley. But that's more for my band stuff. But I do throw a lot of my snake stuff up there too as well. And that's really, I've tried TikTok. I'm probably not going to put anything more on TikTok because TikTok's just kind of stupid and for younger people, I guess.
TikTok's trash.
You need a TikTok, man. You need a TikTok. So I said, okay. I don't know. I don't see what the hype is. But that's I've got my YouTube, Constricted and Addicted. And I just want to say this real quick. I say that, it's time consuming. It's you guys doing this. I love this because we need this. We totally need, Sexin and Flexin. You guys, you do the community justice when you do things like this. I get tired, man. I do a video and then I got to edit it. And I got all the software and it's like 3 days later and I'm finally uploading it, and then I get burned out. And then somebody messages me and says, "Hey, dude, I love your content, man. I'm looking forward to more retic videos." And I'm like, "Oh, man, that means I got to do a video." So, right, I say that in such a sighing manner, but underneath it, it's like it does kind of fire me up and it does, get me gearing. I don't want to be that guy that says, "Well, I'm just going to step on the bandwagon and just keep on doing videos." I'm going to put videos up when I feel like it, I'm due for a retic update because I've gotten some new retics and some of my retics have gotten bigger and some of my enclosures have changed over and there's just a lot of information. But sometimes I'm just a guy, right? I guess that's what it really boils down to is that I'm just another keeper, right? And who wants to see what I got? It's all over Instagram anyways.
Hey, hold on. I want to see it. All these viewers want to see it, man. You had 25 people in here at one point, and it is not dropped below 20 until right now as we're getting into the second hour mark.
Yeah.
I promise you, if you can use this as a motivation, people want to see your content. And I will tell you right now, as a responsible keeper that doesn't do live feedings, that doesn't do feeding videos, that doesn't do the bite videos, you are trending now. We want to see the enclosures. We want to see your gorgeous animals. We want to hear the preaching of US art. So please use that as a passion from the bottom of my heart. I look at your content. I will like your content. Every person inside of the Sexin and Flexin community, inside of the Trap House Exotics community, will follow you and appreciate everything that you're doing. There is not a community that we don't fuck with that will not appreciate what you are doing, Gary, from the bottom of my heart and all of us fellow keepers and breeders.
Gary,
you guys are awesome, man. Thank you.
I also want to say thank you for that, comment you said about our show, about doing this. We do this because, we actually do want to spread positivity. We also do it. We do a women's live to also let them speak. Come on the show. We let them speak. We let them do their thing. So we're all about pushing positivity, getting everybody out there so everybody gets to know everybody. But it's not just about us. It's about y'all.
We're all in this together. All of us. Like it or not, man, we're all in the same boat, so it's grab an oar, man. Grab a US ARC membership and do your part.
Let's do it.
Hell yeah. Everybody give Gary a dab. No, dab.
We cannot be 13.
Gary, give me a big flex. Give me a big flex, Gary. There we go. Yeah.
Fuck yeah. There we go.
All right, guys. As always, we're going to end it on that note. And I want to say I love you guys. Oh, shout out to the sponsors real quick. G&B Reptiles.
Love you guys.
For making this happen. I want to shout them out for making all of this happen. And USR. USR.
Absolutely.
USR. That was my fault.
Oh, I was like 30 seconds late on that. There we go. Yes. Got it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Thank you again, Gary. You have a great night, sir. Appreciate you.
You guys, too. Thank you so much.
Man, we got to bring you back, Gary, for real. We got to bring you back. That was awesome. I love this.
Yeah.
Anytime. Let me know.
But on that note, guys, you already know. I love you guys. Hearts with y'all. Love you. We out.
Yeah.